In today's video, we're going to do more of a basic lore question and talk about Realmstone. This is something that was asked quite a few times in a number of comments, and it seemed pertinent, and I wanted to jump into it. If you're not familiar, this is a substance that is kind of released when Age of Sigmar 2.0 came out, and the Soul Wars set really moved the narrative into a direction of talking about this substance, and it's become really a defining part of this chapter of Age of Sigmar as a story arc. And today we're going to talk briefly about what it is, its uses, and its importance both in the story that we've seen so far and just as a plot device for creating fun narratives. So what is Realmstone? Well, if you're not familiar with the Age of Sigmar setting, basically each realm represents a different wind of magic. The closer to the center of that realm that you are, things are very stable and very, very easy to live in. And this is where the vast majority of stories that we've seen from Black Library take place are. Magic can be harnessed. You can bring that to the tabletop with the realm magic rules, the spell list that you have for each realm. But the further you get to the edge of each realm, magic becomes very dicey, very unstable. Wizards will see their powers kind of amplified, and weird things will start happening the further out you go. For example, if you were in the realm of fire, Akshi, and you walk towards the edge, suddenly you may burst into flame. Why? Because the wind of magic hit you so hard, all of a sudden it just ignited you. Or if you're in the realm of metal, you walk too close to the edge, or you get too far out there. If magic power hits you too much, your skin might turn into metals, and you might become a living statue type thing. The point is, crazy things happen as the magic becomes incredibly unstable and ultimately more concentrated at the same time. Well, what does this have to do with Realmstone? Well, when there's pockets of extreme concentration of magic, sometimes it will solidify. Imagine steam going straight into a solid state. That's kind of what's happening. Another way to look at it is the creation of diamonds, where it's a lot of heat and pressure over enough time will create a new substance, the diamond that we know of. And so what you end up with, and what Realmstone fundamentally is solidified magic of the highest concentration. Each one of them takes on the physical attributes of the realm it's representing, and it kind of it keeps its power wherever you go. So if you were to take Realmstone from, say, Gregorian, it would still be life magic in Shyish, right? You could take that other places and bring those artifacts around. And that's very important as we dive into its uses and things like that. And this isn't really a new thing. We've seen this kind of trope in a lot of fantasy novels where there's, magic crystals and things like that. This is really a good MacGuffin to kind of represent those things. But it's the natural creation of these rare, I can't emphasize that enough, Realmstones that drives the plot forward in sort of the latest chapter of Age of Sigmar. Now, as far as the different kinds of Realmstone, this is where things get a little bit interesting and where it diverts from, magical rocks that you see in other fantasy novels. Because Realmstone exists in every realm, and like I said before, it really exemplifies the properties and the nature of the realm it's in. They're not all crystals and diamonds of different colors. Not only does it have unique properties, but every Realmstone in its realm has a unique name. So, for example, people in Shyish don't call it Shyish Realmstone, they call it Gravesand. That's just their local term for it. In Chaman, they call it Chamanite, and in Hyish, they call it Ether Quartz. Those are just a few examples, but you'll see kind of different names get tossed around. That's what they're representing, is different Realmstones. And what's important here is that they aren't just rocks. They aren't just crystals and gems of different colors. That would be kind of boring because they really do fundamentally take on the properties of the magic it's trying to represent, and that's what makes it so cool. Because their formation is similar to diamonds, but their appearance and properties are not. For example, Chamanite, which is the Realmstone from Chaman, realm of metal, is not a silver rock or crystal or something like that. It's actually a floating globe. Imagine if you've ever seen water and the space station, right? It's a little perfectly almost spherical droplet just kind of floating around. It's like that, except it's made out of liquid metal, so think mercury. The exact description is it's a floating globe, and it looks like Quicksilver devoid of gravity. In Gregorian, realm of life, the Realmstone is this kind of jade-colored ice that melts, steams, and solidifies in this perpetual cycle, just kind of like a little mini cycle of life in and of itself, which perfectly represents the cycle of life that the realm represents. In Haish, the realm of light, ether quartz is a state of kind of solid light in the sky that you can harvest by pulling it down. Again, it emits light like everything else that the magic does in the realm. And so you can already see kind of the cool building blocks as far as having a unique substance that does unique things. Keep in mind, this is still the incredibly unstable magic, and we're going to talk about its uses here in a second, but it gives them very unique properties in storytelling. And at this point, I do want to talk about one super important type of Realmstone that really doesn't get talked about a ton, and that is Warpstone. Warpstone is a favorite ingredient and power source for particularly the Skaven race, the rat folk. They use it to power their gigantic war machines. It's used as a kind of enhancer and hallucinogen for their wizards and their power. And it kind of has a different, feel or origin to it. So if you're not familiar, the Skaven live in a sort of a pocket realm they've carved out for themselves. You can go see my video on Clan Pestilence to get more information on that. But basically they can kind of dig in space between the realms. If you're familiar with 40k, it's almost like their very own webway. Well, they've burrowed into the fabric of reality and carved out a little rat's den. And this little pocket realm got so big and it's so filled with the frantic energies of billions of Skaven that it began to make its own Realmstone, something that represents that realm just like every other realm. And this one is called Warpstone. And from what we know, it does appear to be that classic green type crystal. So there's a few things about the different types of Warpstones, where to find it, Realmstones, where to find it and that kind of stuff. But how can you use it? Like, why is it important? Right? Really, what do you do with it? Well, at its most basic level, it can do a few things. It can amplify existing magic power. It can act as an arcane battery, meaning it's an easy to transport source of power. Or it can infuse objects with magical power or properties. So we're going to break those down a little bit. So as far as infusing an artifact with magic, if you ever think of like a very fantasy thing, which is like a flaming sword that never goes out, it's a trope that's been around for forever. Well, you could create that by taking, say, a speck of Realmstone from Aqshy and putting it in the hilt of a sword, and that's how it would express that magical power. That way you can make an artifact have immense power and value. And it's not just weapons. Think of all the realm artifacts from the Malign Sorcery book. They all have realms affiliated with them. That's because they represent magical properties from those realms inside those objects. For example, an amulet from Shyish making you ethereal, etc. Now the next use is acting like a battery, and we mostly see this with the Skaven rather than any other race because they use Warpstone to power their machines and weapons frequently. I wouldn't be surprised if other races use it as a power source soon. I mainly list it here because Skaven demonstrate that it can be done, and there's no wizards required to get use out of Realmstone, which is important. And the last up, and frankly the most important, is the ability to amplify a wizard's power by having Realmstone. Now this was a big deal in the Malign Portents and Soul Wars narratives, again our current chapter of Age of Sigmar. The idea being that if you have a piece of, for example, Chamonite, right, from a metal, it can vastly make you a more powerful wizard in that type of magic. And this is a big reason why it's sought after. Most armies revere or are led by powerful magic users, and they want to dramatically increase their effectiveness and deadliness on the battlefield, and this is a great way to do it. And as far as why Realmstone is important, right, you can have uses for it, but that doesn't make something important. Well, here's the big thing. This has acted as a driving plot device for the Soul Wars and Malign Portents series that we're currently in. Nagash spent hundreds of years collecting grave sand, right, the Realmstone from Shyish. He made an endless column of skeletons, all going out to the edge of the realm and coming right back, and each skeleton was carrying a speck, a single grain of sand-like substance of the Realmstone. And with this kind of endless trickle of Realmstone coming in, he constructed a giant black pyramid out of it, massive in size. And while his plan was a little convoluted, basically what he was going to do is absorb all the death magic into himself, have the pyramid act like a battery for it, and right now you can see the main uses that we talked about in play. He's amplifying his power and having it act as a battery. Now, of course, that much Realmstone attracted the Skaven, and they kind of messed everything up. I did a video dedicated to the story arc of Soul Wars. I do suggest you go check it out. My point in saying this much is that it's really driven events. It is the substance and the power that made death ascend for a bit, and it changed the way magic works in the realms. It's the disruption that too much Realmstone in one place caused really screwed with things. That's why things like endless spells exist, because the fundamental nature of magic, it was just altered by so much concentration of gravesand in one place. Also, as I said, towards the center of each realm it's very stable. Well, now they took all this Realmstone and put it in the dead center of the realm of death, and it's kind of inverted the stability of magic there. So things are a little crazy in the realm of death right now, all because of this substance. In addition to kind of the grand story arc of, Soul Wars, Malign Portents, Age of Sigmar, where we're going right now, even just practically speaking, if you and your buddy both have an army and you want to have a reason to fight, it's a great plot device for any storytelling. With some factions, it's hard to say why, Army A is fighting Army B. We should be allies or something like that. Why would these two armies interact in any capacity? Well, having a artifact or something that both armies want, a substance or something like that they both have to compete to get for various reasons, is a great way to make an engaging story on the tabletop. Maybe Keratin Overlord engineers want to experiment with it, but Free Guild want to use it for their Mage Lord because they know that he needs more power to fight off Skaven or whatever. Someone wants an artifact or power source, or there's a dark mage demanding it. And what I'll just say is that having more motivations for these armies to interact with each other is always a good thing. And that really is the basics of Realmstone. Like I said, not a very long video. It's a very simple type of substance. It's kind of a plot MacGuffin, if you will, but fundamentally I think it's very important to talk about because, first of all, Warpstone fits into this category, even though it's not expressly mentioned a ton. But of course also its importance when it comes to driving events in the narrative, that this substance was introduced to us along with the Legions of the Gash Battle Tome and Malign Portents, but has really shaped the way the realms are going to be working going forward. Of course, endless spells are now coming out with every faction, and that's indicative of how important it is. In addition to that, kind of comparing it to other, fantasy tropes you might know of. I mean, I read a lot of fantasy books. I did when I was in high school as well. I like where, I always kind of wonder with some of these books, where do they keep finding these magical artifacts of incredible power? You know what I mean? Like, people talk about these things, but they're supposed to be so rare, but there seems to be a plethora of them when it comes to having a reason for our characters to interact. I always thought that was super funny. And then we're looking at this where it's like, no, this is a substance that's out there and anyone can go out to the ends of the realms and get some. It's just incredibly dangerous. Like, they're rare because they're hard to get, not because they're necessarily in short supply. And I really found that to be awesome, because you think if one person went, followed the column of skeletons out and grabbed a speck of death sand, grave sand from the realm of death, you might be thinking, what kind of powerful artifact could a necromancer or something make from that? And it's an intriguing idea, and certainly something that I think would warrant, say, a campaign. If your army was, armies are trying to go out to the edge of the realms, but they keep bumping into each other, trying to stop each other from getting as much Realmstone as they can. Those are the kinds of things that fascinate me, and they're just, again, great character motivations and a lot of fun. So friends, thank you so much for joining me in this video. If you have more lore questions you'd like answered, go ahead and leave in the comments down below and give me a thumbs up. It means a lot to me, and I look forward to talking to y'all very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and happy wargaming. Hey Wargamers, thank you so much for watching that video. Be sure to hit subscribe and click the little bell notification icon so you're alerted to all new videos coming out.